Hello and welcome to the Power Lunch Live podcast. Our guest today is Heather C. Abbott. We have other guests who are lined up, but our producer, also me, kind of dropped the ball and didn't send out the email earlier and sent out the email later. So I think the other guests probably are getting their email right now saying, hey, your show's today. And they're like, what? It is? So we're going to do something a little bit unusual, which is I'm just going to toss out the link that lets you access StreamYard. And if you think you're cool enough to join us on the Power Lunch, maybe you can just come in and join us, which I'll be doing in a moment. I'm actually going to do that while Heather introduces herself, and that will buy me time to do administrative things to do that. So, Heather, I'm going to put you on screen. You can talk to the audience for a bit, engage them, build them up, get them excited. And I'm going to toss a link out there so anyone who wants to join the conversation and thinks they're cool enough can do so. So, Heather, tell us about yourself and why you're awesome.
I am awesome for so many reasons. I feel like I'm here all alone because you're gone. I don't see on the screen. I like talking and it's fun and why am I awesome? Gosh, Michael, you kind of put me on the spot. I'm awesome because I showed up. There we go. I actually put it in my calendar myself. So even though you didn't send me a calendar invite, I knew to come today, even though it's Good Friday. Yes. So that's okay. So I'm Heather Abbott, Prosperity Pro, and I help people to reach true fulfillment in life, get a handle on their finances, make friends with their finances, magic in their money, that sort of stuff. My latest talk is actually that I'm working on. It's paid talks is what I do. And I'm on podcasts and stuff for free. So that's always good. But making the living is getting paid by, corporations, businesses to do talks in schools. And the latest one I'm working on is actually respect for relationships. And I'm going to be testing that at a local school coming up. They don't know it yet, but I've been talking with the principal and I know that he's working on that in the school. And see, I have the whole financial side of me. That's my training. But the other part of me is all about getting past blocks, getting out of a terrible relationship and how to move forward with life and stay happy no matter what's going on. So I bring my life experience mixed with all my training and I help everybody. How's that?
You done with you do have some very interesting life experience.
Very interesting? Yes, I am a fairy, so it is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I say very interesting, but yes, you also have very interesting life experience too.
I heard fairy, so.
Yeah. It's like you hear what you want to hear.
I do. Yeah. If you call, if you throw you notice I always have a Wonder Woman in the background.
Yes.
I bought a whole bunch of postcards of Wonder Woman from Zazzle, fantastic artwork. And I have them all around the house. Like actually, if you look up higher, there's like 4 more of them right up there. Those are all Wonder Woman. I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan.
So what do you like so much about Wonder Woman?
I don't know. I've always loved her. Like reading comics as a kid, she was my favorite character. I guess she had beautiful hair. She did cool stuff. She looks awesome, and she is awesome, right? She's a princess, and she stands up for good. So
that is pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
awesome array of things. So tell us a bit more about. So you're not a typical financial person. I introduced you to someone recently, and I always try to kind of share with them who they're going to be meeting. But there's kind of 2 directions I can go introducing Heather C. Abbott, which is I can describe you as like the financial advisor coach, in which case they are totally surprised when they meet you. Or I could introduce you as the fairy with the amazing stories, in which case they are totally surprised when they meet you.
Yeah, like because if the way it was always authenticity was my word for this year. And I've always been authentic. What you see is what you get. But there was always the part of me that I only shared with people who I knew would accept it because of that whole fear of rejection, shame, standing up to be who you are, not feeling worthy, right? And this year I was like, nope. Basically, here's all of me. And if you don't like all of me, then go away. I've always been this way. I've always been this magical little human.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been super good with numbers. That's why I became an accountant and financial advisor. It was easy for me, super easy. So, yes, I have all this fantastic knowledge. And even when I was a broke accountant, because a lot of people think, oh, but if she's not a millionaire, she can't help me become a millionaire. And I'm not claiming I will do that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But it's just an example because I see it a lot. And people are like, oh, but they can only teach me if they're there. No, I helped a lot of people with their finances, with their accounting, with their businesses. And I was broke, secretly broke, because you hide it. But I was. Doesn't change my knowledge. Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that reminds me of one of the key pieces of advice I was given last year. Because early on, someone told me, like, don't let people know that you're driving DoorDash, driving Uber, because nobody wants to hire a broke business coach, which is true, because a business coach's job is to holistically make your business bigger. And a broke business coach, that's like hiring a skinny chef. Like, if they don't like food enough to eat it, then they probably don't make it very well. But on the other hand, when I was trying to be a general business coach, yeah, that made sense. But then I kind of narrowed into networking. And you can be a broke networker, because I was doing a phenomenal job making other people money. I was bad at monetizing, but I wasn't going to teach you how to monetize. I was going to make connections or teach you how to make connections. And what he told me was, he said, if you're a networking coach, then you could be broke, because you're not selling them money, you're selling them connections. And I remember I came to a point where I realized I'd meet people and I'd say, if I had your skills as a graphic designer, web designer, bookkeeper, whatever it is, combined with my skills, I'd make a lot of money. But I was always like an engine without a transmission. I was like, I'm making connections all day long. There's all these, how to fill your, how to fill your calendar kind of things. How to fill your schedule. I'm like, I don't need that. My schedule's full till 3 months from now. I need how to make money out of my calendar. But since apparently other people don't have super full calendars, I was able to plug in that piece for them. And ultimately, it thus came a business. And I'm no longer a broke networker. I'm now running a business.
And you've been able to fill in the piece without them filling their calendar.
Yeah.
You, I must say, are one of the best connectors I have ever met. Everybody you have introduced me to is like, oh my gosh, we have to what's your phone number? Like, we're going to just be gal pals and we're going to stay connected because I absolutely love you. Yes. Like, these are the type of people. Mm-hmm. And yes, there is probably work relationship sort of thing. There's some other synergy there, but you have the ability to match personalities that will click. Mm-hmm. To a degree that is amazing. Mm-hmm. Although I will raise your skinny chef and say my son-in-law is a very good cook and he is not fat whatsoever.
Okay, well, it's not a good example then. But...
Yeah. Have you ever heard that? That reminds me of a joke, though. If you might hear a joke, it was a comedian came out on the stage one time, and she, when she came out, she's like, I was all pumped for coming out here. Things were going to be awesome. And then someone walks by me and they go, you look tired. Are you tired? And she said, and I just go why would you say that to me? You don't walk up to fat people and say, you look full. Are you full? Anyway, I thought it was hilarious. But...
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say about matching personalities, because it's never it's not something I would have thought of, but I kind of match vibes.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
So it's really like the impression I get from you and the impression I get from someone else, like those seem to match. I'm going to put you together. And in some ways that's almost an expression of laziness for me. Because I've always thought that, if I'm connecting people for business, I should really have a database. I should have a system that connects, that, describes someone in 27 different aspects and really should be able to be systematizable. And okay, you've got these audiences and you want to do these matches and you're going to put it together and you're going to do a joint venture and you're going to make a bunch of money. Blah, blah, blah. And while I'm waiting to build my supercomputer that will make introductions for me, I started doing these vibe introductions of your vibe is kind of like your vibe. I'm just going to put you together and see what happens. And those are almost I kind of thought it was like hobby introductions. Like these aren't like serious business introductions. These are like fun introductions. I mean, sometimes I'll do something. I talk to two people named Melissa back to back, and just happen that's how my calendar lines up. So I'll introduce them because I'm like, hey, Melissa from 2:00, meet Melissa from 2:30. You guys should talk because you're both named Melissa, and I met you between 2 and 3:00. And sometimes something comes of it, and sometimes it doesn't. Or like, you do music and live in Canada. You do music and live in Canada. You're going together. But I, as you're now pointing out, I also don't get a lot of feedback in the introduction, so it's great to hear back afterwards. But as you're now pointing out, like those kind of vibe introductions are the ones that you match up, and you're like, how did you know?
Yeah, and now for you. And I've done a ton of networking last year. My calendar was full. Like I would literally be doing stuff for 12 hours a day, not being productive, but meeting people, which I guess could be considered productive. Mm-hmm. So, and actually I met you originally at one of those networking events, I believe. But to keep all of those in your head and keep them straight is a big challenge. So at some point you do have to have a system. Mm-hmm. But you must have something now. I know one person I speak to, she has a file folder for everybody. When you have a call, she gets out the file folder. Myself, I have notebooks, and I just do it by date. I go through, I put the date, who it is, and go through and put in notes. Sometimes I hit record now. Usually I hit record now. If I'm on a Zoom call with someone, I'm like, okay, there's been too many times that brilliance has happened and we have missed it. Like you have given me gold or I've given you gold, and we don't have that written down, and it was just gone as soon as we said it. So I hit record so that it's preserved for posterity. And it also makes it easy if you ever did need to go back to review something. So that's one of the things I do. So what do you do to track all these people, all these connections?
So I don't record because I know I'll never go back. But what I do is I keep a Google Drive, Google Doc for every meeting I have. And some of them, it's funny, sometimes I go back to the notes and it's like name, email address, date. And I didn't write anything because we were just talking. But for the most part, I at least have a general sense of like, what is their business? What do they do? Who are they looking for? Something in there, which is really useful when I go to make the introduction a week later because I forgot. I then also have a spreadsheet where I have 2 columns, who I'm introducing and to whom. So generally the left column is the person I talked to, and the right column is who I said, I should introduce you to that person. And it used to be that I just kind of make them in real time. And then as I started meeting more people, make more introductions, I got backlogged. So I'd use that spreadsheet to keep the ones not only that I had done, but also the ones that I will do. And just this morning, I cleared my backlog. Finally, had a backlog for like a week. And that's tough because someone's going to make it like, I know there was a reason why I want to introduce you to, but I know one of you well. I can barely remember the other one. I'm going back to the notes. The notes aren't clear enough. And but at least it reminds me I wanted to introduce these 2 people. And I think you're right. I think that people get to trust my instinct on. And actually, I've started to realize that the way I make introductions is much more intuitive than scientific.
I think it is because you wouldn't make such good matches if it was scientific. I don't believe.
Yeah, and I've said it's almost like introductions happen through me as opposed to me making them happen.
So you do need to be a little more disciplined with taking at least a sentence or 2 of notes for each person.
Yeah.
Do you find it helps visually, like if you have their face saved? Like a picture?
That probably, I could do that, couldn't I? I could just snap a screenshot out of the Zoom call and put it up there. And usually I can find them I can look them up on LinkedIn or Facebook.
Yeah. And that will refresh your memory on who they are, what they do,
yep.
But it's extra work. And if, I'm just saying, if you're connecting people, maybe getting that screenshot and
that is probably a good idea to grab that screenshot. Yeah. That might not be a bad idea. Huh. That's a good idea. Because what I had been doing was being pretty good about sending the connections within 24 hours. So they were still fresh in my mind.
But you still need it for later. I mean, since your business is networking and connecting, and so And I know this isn't like, me trying to coach you, but this is kind of fun. I
I'll
feel like
take it.
I have a chance to actually interview you
I never turn down free
on your
coaching.
own show.
Yeah. Welcome to Power Lunch, where whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And it has always worked out well. So
Yeah.
3 months of serendipity and success.
I think it's great. Let's just showcase you for this episode.
Okay, I won't stop you. Let's see. You're looking up. We got one person watching, but whoever that one person is probably still likes me because they're still here. So it's cool.
Yeah. So you do a lot of free introductions for me and other people. Like that's like I'm not one of your clients.
Yep.
So tell me a bit more about your business side of it. What does that look like? You told me you have some summits coming up. What else? What else do you have going on?
Yeah, the summits aren't the business. My last summit, I made $194 from. So that's not the business model. No. So the actual business model, the thing that turned it into a business was when Phil Palucha in a conversation said to me, some people get paid to make introductions. And I said, what? And he explained that it's different. It's either a percentage basis of the deal, if it's like real estate or investment or something like that, or it's a retainer or some combination of such things. And so I started talking to a few other people, and one of them said, that sounds a great idea because I want to hire you for that thing. I need that. And originally, when I first started doing it, I was insecure in what value I could offer, because my clients make like 3 orders of magnitude more money than I do. So I'm like, what? I guess I can introduce them to some people. So I'm like, I'll do this, and I'll also do this, and I'll also do that, and I'll also do this, and just trying to pile on the value. And then what I realized was the value I offer them is that I network 20 to 30 hours a week, including podcast interviews, one-to-ones, networking events, summits, that kind of stuff. 20 to 30 hours a week is what I'm spending, like getting out there, meeting people. Yeah. And my clients spend 20, 30 hours a week running their business, like doing that thing they do. Because I was saying, I can't remember if it was on the air or off, but I was saying I'd meet people who were graphic designers or web designers or accountants or whatever, and think, if I had my client acquisition ability and your monetization path, I'd be making zillions of dollars. But I don't have the monetization path at the end. I just know lots of people and then I have nothing to sell them. So they've got something with a strong monetization path. What they don't have is time to go to an 8-hour networking event, or time to spend to do 10 or 15 or 20 one-to-ones. And we've all had the experience of that one-to-one where you're 15 minutes into it and you're like, why am I here? How did you get on my calendar? Can I get out of this? Oh my, look at the power going off. So I either because it's just someone that there's nothing you can do in that conversation, or just a total mismatch. Like you have nothing in common. You're like, how did we end up on the calendar together? So, and when you meet as many people as I do, no, James, you are not one of those people. No, James just commented. He said, you're describing me. I assume James means describing conversations he's had, because James was an awesome conversation and was a really great guy to be able to connect to lots of people. Who's connected me to lots of people too. So, yeah, James, you are awesome. And side note, I'll say this on the air. I met with Brady, who you introduced me to just today, who is also awesome, which is a great conversation. So thank you, James, for connecting me. But
you are right. It's if you're doing the part that you love, which is the networking and meeting everybody, it's only right that you get paid for it. And they probably don't even like that part of going out and taking the chance on who they're going to get on a call with.
That's why
some people are like, oh my gosh, no, my time is worth this much an hour and I don't have time to spend on free calls. So it is something that, and no matter what you're good at, it's something that people are willing to pay you for. If you do what you love and you get good at it, somebody out there will pay you to either do it for them or teach them how to do it.
Well, and the interesting thing with my clients is their time is very valuable because they have very successful companies. But it's not so much a matter of like, I am so valuable that my time cannot be wasted. It's more a matter of like, if I send them someone and I say, hey, I got someone I think talking to you for 30 minutes will change their life, but they don't have any money, they can't pay you. Almost all of them be like, totally, send them over. Let me see how I can help. It's more they don't want to spend their time on someone that doesn't need them, doesn't need them, can't do anything for them. They can't do anything for that. It's they want to make sure that there's some reason they're spending this time. And, I meet 20 something people a week, 10 to 20, and I'll probably introduce, depending on the client, between 1 and 8 of them per week to the client. And depends on how many they want. But sometimes just a matter of they only have time for 4, 5, 6 of those kinds of calls during the course of the week. And so I'm connecting them with the ones that seem like the best fits for them. So it's curated, as opposed to, when I meet with people, or when most people meet with people, they're they're unfiltered. They're whatever happens to come through.
And since you're using your instincts,
yeah.
your vibe, I can tell you from experience, you are bang on. So these people are definitely getting the value from you. And anyone who is looking for new people to meet, I highly recommend that you connect with Michael and get him on retainer, because he really is a guy who knows a guy. And not being all males, it's a generic thing. It's just, I'm a guy who knows a guy. Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah. Could be a girl, could be a guy.
It's probably 2/3 women, actually, that I tend to meet.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women. There's a lot of female entrepreneurs right now, I find. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. There's definitely a big movement of women leaving corporate, because and it's funny for me because I've never worked in corporate, so I only know corporate secondhand. My wife has a corporate-ish job, but it's not a big corporation. It's still that vibe of job. But the closest I've gotten to corporate is sales. So I've done sales, but even not corporate sales. I worked for a local printing company. I worked for a local car dealership. I worked for I published a magazine as a 1099 for a larger company. So I've never worked in like a big office with a boss and a boss's boss, and I've only heard about such things. But people will tell me why they're leaving their jobs, and I'm like, how did you even stay at that job as long as you did? That sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
The workplace culture issues, and then add to that the gender issues. You're like, and on top of being told when to be there and what to do and how to do it, on top of that, you deal with harassment and being belittled and having your ideas stolen and no one listening to you. And I'm like, how did you stay there as long as you did?
They've actually proven that men have trouble listening to the female voice, like in a corporate setting, because it's higher pitched. And if you can lower your voice to a low tone, they will actually listen to you more. And it's sad, but it's true. It's something programmed into, we have evolved so quickly, technology and everything around us. Our bodies haven't adapted to that. People aren't sleeping because of these electromagnetic frequencies that are surround us, like from radio waves and telephone signals and Wi-Fi and all that. Our bodies haven't kept up. But for that, you introduced me to one of the women that I just met from you, Anne. She's working towards changing corporate. She's wanting to be a paid speaker like me for corporations. And her message is to get it so that they can fix it, so not all the women are going to leave.
Yep. Well, and that's what we're seeing now, is for the longest time, there was no cost for a company, or there was no visible cost of this kind of thing. They didn't have change, and they're like, well, I guess that sucks for you. But then as more and more women moved up the corporate ladder and got into these positions and started, getting education and having knowledge and skills and all this human capital value, they get to the point where they say, I can't go any higher, but if I leave and become a consultant, contractor, coach, I can increase my income by 25% 2 years from now, be respected, and not deal with this. And I hear so many stories of when they're in the company, then it's they're a woman in the company. Once they leave and come back as a contractor, well, now they're a respectable business owner.
Yeah.
And now they have to listen to, because they're an owner, they're a CEO, they're a boss.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame the way a lot of things work. I wish everybody was like me. If everybody was like me, there would be no racism. There'd be none of that crap going on. I just don't. It's just, no, You should be nice. Like, have you, my thing is the world should be like a buffet table, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things. Like, have all the foods of the world, and it's all the people of the world. Everything you could possibly like or dislike is on the buffet table. Stop complaining about the stuff that's on the table for everybody else. That's it. That's the key to it.
Yeah.
Put the stuff you like on your own plate. Don't put stuff on other people's plates. That's rude.
Uh-huh.
And just ignore the stuff that's there for other people. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, don't eat them. Maybe somebody else wants them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you don't eat chocolate, I'll take it. You know, like, that's, if everybody could adopt that attitude and stop thinking that what they want in life is what everybody else should want. Should is one of the worst words that we use. And if you hear yourself using the word should or the word try,
Mm-hmm.
those are two words that you should, there we go, that you don't use. If you want to live a life that is true to you, you shouldn't. There we go. See, it's hard to avoid if you listen to it, right?
Yep.
To do that, you really need to do what is important to you. Trying is just a lack of action. If you say try, it means you're not actually going to do it. Because, like, if you drop your pencil and you try to pick it up, I'm willing to bet you're going to be able to, right?
Yep. I mean, there are times, I think, when trying is the right thing, when you're not sure what you want to do. You know, I'm going to try working corporate. I'm going to try working retail. See if I like it. You know, while I'm there, I'm gonna give my best, but I'm gonna try. Like, there's certain, you know, certain clients I'll encounter. I'm like, I'll try working with them and just try it. You know, see if I like it. I'm not committed.
You have to add that oomph to it, right? Because if you add oomph to try oomph, try oomph, right?
Oh yeah.
There we go.
But I think there are things where you don't necessarily want to, you know, marry yourself to that job or that role or that thing.
No.
And that's where trying fits in. But yeah, you don't try to be successful in your business. You don't try to get a new job.
And you don't use the word can't either, because more often than not, can't means not going to try.
Yeah. Yep.
And there, see, try is, you can't get away from using try and should.
Mm-hmm.
But just recognize that when you're saying it, is it should because somebody else is telling you that it's something that should fit you? Or is it should because, like, why are you saying should rather than will? It's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah. I like the expression. You can should all over yourself.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yep. You can should all over yourself.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So what's been going on in your world lately, Michael? Anything new?
Well, so I'm glad you asked. I have some summits coming up, as I may have mentioned before, which I'm going to put the link in the chat. Now that I have multiple, I set up a special website for that. .com/summits. There we go. Wait, not the chat. Oh, the lower third. We're on television. It's the lower third. So I have 3 summits coming up that may be relevant to your and or someone else's interest. Oh, before we got a comment from James here. Yoda, there is no try. Which is a great segue into one of the events we have coming up, which on June 3rd, we're running the Entrepreneur Summit, which is a summit for geeky business owners. Not geeky business, regular business, just geeky business owners. Because a lot of the business owners I know, pretty geeky. So, it'd be like a regular business summit, but with a lot more Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings quotes. And the full name of the first summit is Entrepreneur for a New Summit. Which all the Star Wars fans will get that one.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Yep.
Yeah, and, I get it. I get it too.
Yep. And we already have plans for the next one, Entrepreneur 5, The Summit Strikes Back, and Entrepreneur 6, Return of the Summit.
I like how you did the same as Star Wars, and you totally skipped the first 3.
Yeah, well, the next one will be Entrepreneur 1, A Phantom Summit, Entrepreneur 2, The Summit Wars.
Oh, you're going to do it. Oh, do you know why they made the the middle 3 movies before they made the first 3 movies?
I do not know.
In charge of scheduling, Yoda was.
Nice.
Another one of my favorite jokes. Yes, I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So you should definitely be an entrepreneur.
I think I already am.
Okay. But you should definitely apply if you haven't applied, because I don't think anyone's actually applied yet. A lot of people are like, oh, I got to get in there. I'm like, cool. There's an application. You should go to it. And they're like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then I check the actual form, and they haven't gone and done it. So
send it out in an email, and I'll catch it.
Yep. But yes, if you go to Guy, so for those who are watching, if you go to guyknowsguy.com/summits, the other one are the Abundance Minded Entrepreneurs Summit, which is May 23rd and 24th. And on July 7th, we are doing Haas for Business, Humor Accelerator Summit for Business. Because while I've never seen a geek business summit, I've also never seen a humor business summit. And humor is a big part of business, and everything from sales to marketing to team management, wellness, all kinds of aspects. But I have yet to see an event that is just about humor in business. And I thought that would be a really fun event. So I'm organizing it.
Awesome.
And the date is 7/11 from 11 to 7, unless you're in the Seychelles, in which case it is 11/7 from 7 to 11. Because they use the European date system over there, but it's 8 hours ahead.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always only funny to me, but I think
I actually love humor. Humor with me can sometimes be the same as the dancing. I just laugh for no reason sometimes. Like I get a giggle fit when we're going to bed, and I'm just keeping my fiance awake. And he's like, "What is so funny?" I'm like, "I don't
know." Life is just so funny.
I'm just happy. Yeah, but it with the music with me, you've heard the saying, "Dance like a dance like no one's watching."
Yep.
With me, it's actually dance like a 2-year-old. They don't need music. So I've actually been in the airport before waiting for a plane, and I was standing up, and then I was just like, and I was like, kind of just, dancing on the spot. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should put headphones in so people think I'm listening to music in my head.
Yeah, I got a really small earpiece. That's fine. Yeah.
Do you wake up with a song in your head like every day?
Not every day, but it's happened.
It happens to me most days. And then there's like, people will say something and the song that relates to what they said pops in your head and you just want to sing it.
That happens sometimes. Good. But I've mostly trained my brains that all my random associations are people now.
Yeah, no, mine is still on like everything, but it works for me because childish, very, grow up.
Yeah, I've sort of trained my ADHD to be part of how I can do intuitive introductions. Because with ADD, you always have these different ideas are popping into your head constantly. You're talking. And I was like, hey, brain, what if those were people? Like people this person should meet. And I was like, I can do that. So as I'm talking to somebody, names. Like Kathy Nesbitt. You should meet Kathy Nesbitt if you haven't. She does laughter yoga.
Laughter yoga sounds fun.
Yes, it seems like your kind of thing. So as I'm talking to people, they will say something, and I'll be like, "Oh, who you should meet?" And then I further discipline myself to sometimes not say it out loud, because every time I do that, another pair of names goes on the spreadsheet on the screen over here, and I then have to send the email making the introduction that I promised to do.
Well, you didn't promise. You just said that would be cool.
Well, that's true. And of course, yours, I can probably do a quick LinkedIn message, be like, hey, Kathy, meet Heather. She's a financial advisor / speaker / fairy. Hey, Heather, Kathy does laughter yoga. Go.
Yay. I love yoga and I love to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Good matchup. Yep.
Yeah. I did participate in her laughter yoga class once. She does a free class every week. And I participated.
You laughed your way through the whole yoga class?
It's not really yoga. Like it's not yoga in the sense of, yoga. I'm trying to represent yoga with my upper body. I do not have improv training or mime training. Definitely don't have that either. But I think it is yoga from the sense of the meditative aspect of yoga. But
Okay.
instead of motions, it uses laughter. And there are some motions to it too. So they'll have you like move your arms in some way and make a ha sound with that, and you kind of work yourself into laughing.
Cool.
Um,
I love flash mobs. This
mhm.
is where my mind goes. I'm not ADHD, but I probably should be. Um, the mobs are fun, but I've seen videos of people who just go to like a bus stop and they just start laughing,
Mm-hmm.
like really laughing, and they're on camera, right? So everybody around them is just kind of looking at them at first, and then they all start smiling, and then half of them are laughing too, and even the one that's not laughing has her book open, and she's still like kind of because the person is just it's like me, right? Just busting a gut laughing for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes people laugh. And
Yeah.
there is a proven scientific fact that if you smile at someone, their brain smiles back.
Yeah.
Even if it never reaches their face, they can't help it. Their brain will smile back at you.
I did an experiment along those lines years ago when I first went to New York City. I think this might have been when I was working there. And everyone told me nobody makes eye contact in New York City. No one smiles at each other in New York City. Nobody talks to each other in New York City. Just keep your eyes down, and everyone's really really grumpy and unfriendly in New York City. And I'm like, wonder if that's true. What will happen if I smile at people I walk by in New York City? Will they just stone-facedly be like, New Yorker? And sure enough, I smiled at random strangers in New York City, and they all smiled back. Because some people outside of the city may be surprised to learn that people who live in New York City are also human and respond to human stimuli.
I love how you put that. I went for training with Investors Group in Toronto, and I am very much a networker person, but not with a purpose. Just I love
Mm-hmm.
people, and all people are just strangers, and they're just friends I haven't met yet. There are no
Yep.
strangers, right? So when I'm there, I'd be at dinner with my roommate in the morning, and someone would walk by, and I'd wave, and she's like, "Who's that person?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's the guy that was on the treadmill last night when I was in there. He's from England, and he sells medical equipment." And then another person would go by, and I'd wave, and she's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the guy that was outside. He's an accountant. There was a fire drill yesterday, so he was outside next to me." And I tell her about him because I ask questions, and you can't stop me. She actually sprained her ankle while we were there, so I went with her to the doctor's office, and there's this little waiting room, and it's probably like 7 feet across, 10 feet long, right? Just a little waiting room with a bench on 3 walls and a door, like a tiny bench on one wall, door there, and a door to go in the office. So I'm sitting there with her. There's a couple people beside me, probably 4 people across me, and a couple people there. So what do? I start talking. It's like, "So how are you from Toronto?" Like, and I just pull everything out of everybody. And then those people would go in, and the next person went in, and there was nobody new coming in. And then the girl I was sharing a room with at the convention, she went in, and there was this couple, and I would say they were probably from somewhere over like around India or somewhere like that. I don't really remember where they were from, but it was somebody with a different ethnic background than me. And they saw my eyes go to them, and they had been there. So they knew they were next. Right? So, and he was holding his face, and the woman was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, "So what happened?" And she goes, "No." And I was like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll make up my own stories. So looks like it's your mouth. So I'm guessing you're a sword swallower, and you just had a slight accident." And they start to crack up. So after like me just making my own conversation with myself for a couple of minutes, the guy actually goes to the girl, and she's like, "I accidentally hit him in the mouth with my elbow." And I'm like, Okay, probably the sword swallowing wasn't too far off, but it was just they did open up because
Yeah.
my energy, I am a person who will never be mean to anybody on purpose. It's not in me to do. I
Hmm.
have no animosity. Like I said, if everybody in the world was like me, we would all get along. On
Mm.
the cab ride there was a fellow with a turban on, and I'd always wondered, like, how long is that? Like, do you have to wind it yourself? So I asked him, and my
Yep.
roommate's sitting in back of him going like this, like, and she's like, she really doesn't mean any offense. I'm like, he knows I don't mean any offense. So anyway, yeah, that's just, it was a kind of a cool story. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a lot of times, people like don't mention like he knows he's wearing a turban. Um, yeah, and it's like if it's a respectful question.
It was. I just
Um,
wanted to know how he put it on, like how long it took.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like that's a respect. As opposed to like why do you wear that
No,
or
no.
something weird like that. But like I'm just curious. Like I see that I never seen it taken off. How long is it? And I'm sure it's something you'd be like. And it's one of those things that he knows a bunch about.
Yeah,
Anyone he might talk to about it also wears a turban, so is not interested. And anyone who doesn't wear a turban probably never asks him. So he's got this deep pool of knowledge on a topic that no one ever talks to him about. So
exactly. He had a great conversation with me the rest of the way.
yeah, I bet he was happy. Like, oh well, it's this long, but they also sometimes do this material, but it actually has to be this. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, he told me a lot. Yeah, I did not know they were actually. It's like it's kind of like wearing a helmet because it will buffer your head. Like if you hit your head on something.
okay,
Yeah, he said it's protection that way too. But yeah,
that
no,
makes
he
sense. Yeah,
explained a whole bunch about it. So
yeah, that
yeah,
makes
no,
sense. It
it
would
was
be.
an interesting conversation, and they all were.
Mm-hmm.
And like the couple in the waiting room, they knew that I wasn't going to bug them. I was just bored, and I like meeting people. So, and this is in Toronto, like is like the New York of Canada, right? Like
Yep.
it's one of the biggest cities, and you have people saying, "Oh no, you don't talk to people." It's like, I'm going to smile. If they don't smile back, I don't care. I'm
Yep.
happy.
Yeah. The fascinating thing I found in New York is, and I've had this confirmed by New Yorkers, that part of the reason people don't engage is because they're all so crowded together. It's like I don't bother you, you don't bother me. We're all cool, so you're not gonna, So it's kind of politely saying it shows. So it's actually what people outside the city, especially Southerners, perceive as rudeness is actually politeness because it's I'm not bugging you, you're bugging me. But on the other hand, there's this sense of community. And a story I heard once was there was a tourist who was I think he was trying to get to the airport and ran into a guy on the subway platform. And on the subway platform, he asked a random New Yorkers like, how do I get to JFK? And you can tell he's really scared. He's like, I don't know what's going to happen when I talk to a stranger here in the city. He's like, how do I got to get to JFK? Do you know how I can get there? He's like, oh yeah, you gotta take this train to that train to this train to that. Oh, you're not going to remember all this. And the train came in. He let him in, shouted to the train car, and said, my friend here's going to JFK. You all got this, right? You'll get him to JFK? And people are like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. And so basically, it was the same way. If I was handing him off to someone I knew, I'd say, "Hey, could you get him to?" But he was handing him off to a subway car full of people to make sure that someone there would make sure he got there. And the people are like, "Oh, of course, yeah, we want to make sure you get around in our city properly." And like that's an ethos in the population to make sure
That
people
you
are
will
taken care of.
find everywhere. And it's if you are in a city or anywhere, wherever you
Mm-hmm.
live, if you're miserable and all the people around you are nasty and you just only see like there's so many things wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
then you move to a new town, and then you take somebody who's in the same area as you and they love their life. They're happy, they meet people, they like them, they all these fantastic things. If you both move from that same city where you both think totally different views to a new place,
Mm-hmm.
you will both find what you left
Yep.
because it's not them, it's you.
Wherever you go, there you are.
There you go. Yes, it
Yep.
always is. And I've been I was on a bus downtown Vancouver with my daughter and my fiance, and they were sitting across from me, and I was sitting by the back door. And there was a girl getting off, and I kind of looked at her, and she had like sores on her face, and I was like, kind of looks like a drug user. And then she got off, and then we after we got off, a few stops later, they were like, "Oh my God, that was horrible." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "All the bums lined up everywhere on that street." And I'm like, "There were bums lined up on the street?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh." And then my daughter's like, "At least tell me you saw the girl getting off the bus that was a drug user." I'm like, "I kind of thought she might be." She's like, "Mom, she had the strap around her arm still because she had just shot up in the back of the bus." I was like, it's not a vibrational match for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it.
Yeah. No, that's a fascinating, and that's huge in so many parts of life that you see what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm unconvinced about the metaphysical explanation of law of attraction, that like you actually draw things to you, but I think it's more of a filter. Like if you use the Uber app as a driver, the way the destination mode works is it only gives you rides going the direction you're going. It won't give you it won't even show you the rides going the other direction because that's not what you want to pick up. And I think in our head we have a destination mode. So if your mind is fixated to I'm going to see good people and this city's full of good people that I want to meet, that's what you're going to see. And it's just, and your eyes will see the bums on the street and your brain will be like, nah, not interested.
Exactly. Because your brain filters so
Yep.
much for you constantly. But with the law of attraction, since you brought it up,
Yeah.
it's more a law of allowing, and it's based on vibration. And you can't argue that everything vibrates. It's scientifically proven, right? Everything vibrates. If you look at water vibrating really fast, it's steam really slowly, ice kind of in the middle, it's water. Even we vibrate. Our cells, we're mostly water, but we're also a lot of space. Inside an atom, if you made the nucleus the size of a grape, I think the next nearest thing would be 2 kilometers away. There's a lot of space inside it. It's all vibrating. So the way it's supposed to work, and the way I have observed it working, and scientifically it's also, there's a lot that proves this, is if you're vibrating at this frequency, let's say you're vibrating at joy, then only joy will reach you. So that's the way it works. It's like tuning in a radio. So if you're on 98.9, you're not going to hear 102.5. You may hear something that's close by, and possibly something will knock you off there sometimes, but it tends to be vibrationally based. That's what it's all about. And if you have you ever looked for something thinking it was lost and not seen it, and then gone back and it was a place that you had looked? That is another example of not vibrating on the same frequency as it. It was there, you saw it, but you believed it was lost, so you didn't see it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's a filtering process.
Yeah, it is. It's a good way to put it, that it's filtering.
Yeah. I think you see that too with when people say, like the negative self-talk, the I can't make any money, or I can never sell anything, or
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yep. And so then you'll and I've watched people not see, or cause I've been talking to people when they'd come to me with a problem, and I would offer them the solution, and they wouldn't even decline the solution. They would talk as if I had not said anything. Like they couldn't hear the solution. And I'd say, yeah, but you could do this. And they're like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, what don't you know? The answer is this. I'm just not sure how that would work. Yeah. Like it would work like this. Ready. Yeah, I just don't know.
It's crazy, but it's true. I mean, when I was a teenager, I used to say insulting things about myself because it hurt less coming from me than from somebody else. And I had said that to a guy who I was going out with, and he was like, "That's stupid." And he's like, that's stupid. Why would you? And I was like, and I forget his exact words, but it made me realize it was stupid. Why would I do that? And I stopped, and I haven't done it since. But although I was married to a guy who was happy to do it for me, unfortunately.
Although it might have been, and feel free to stop me if I'm going out of line here, but it could have been that by doing that, you set up your vibration to allow someone like that into your life.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, totally.
yep.
Had that. The too many hats. I had significant worthiness issues.
Mm-hmm.
They're still there, but if you picture it like a huge circle,
Yeah.
probably half of it was missing before,
Yeah.
and now it's down to like a little sliver. So I'm
Yes.
doing very good.
Which
It's
is
not a
awesome. Yeah.
cavern.
Yep.
It's just this tiny piece that
Mm-hmm.
and that piece is negligible.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well with it.
I have heard an interesting strategy dealing with bullies of agreeing and amplifying to anything they say, and it really messes with their heads. But that's more something you can do from a place of confidence.
Yeah.
So if they're like, you're ugly, and be like, oh man, let me tell you, I don't have a mirror in my house. It's not broken. I am so ugly. Every time I walk by one, it just shatters. I can't even use a camera. They're so bad. And they'd be like, what? They're like, yeah, you don't know the half how ugly I
That's
am.
exactly it. Narcissists feed off your energy.
Yep.
They do. And that is so true. In high school, somebody came to me. Now, I've been called weird my whole life. Weird means supernatural. So, hello. Thank you.
Yeah.
But in high school, I was so proud of myself for how I handled this. They're like, you are so weird. And I was like, shh, it's a secret. They just looked at me like 10 times weird. Like, what? And they walked away because it's like I was owning it. You can't mess with somebody if you're not getting a rise out of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fun in that.
Yeah, I'm reading the Chris Voss book right now, the Never Split the Difference, and one of the strategies that he talks about, I can't remember if it's called mirroring or what the term he uses for it, but it's accusation audit. That's what it is. So basically, whatever bad they could say about you, you lay on the table in the beginning. So if you're going to bring someone bad news, like for example, if it was agreed that you're going to pay them $2,000 and now you got to pay them $500, if you open the conversation with, all right, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you think I am the worst business owner in the world. You're probably going to think I'm a liar, maybe a cheat. You might want to hit me. I'll totally understand all those things. And they'd be like, what are you going to, it can't be that bad. But once you framed it that way, now they're expecting like the worst news in the world. So whatever you say is not as bad as what they're thinking about. But also, once you've said all those things and they've already pushed back, they're like, well, can it really be that bad? And then you say it, anything they say, you already said. It's retreading old ground because you've owned it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's very true. Sorry, my computer's going to die. I just had to grab the cord. If you wondered where I went, I was like, oh,
that was such a great idea. Yeah.
I'm just leaving for a minute. I'll be right back. Yeah, no, that is it's very powerful to take that away from them before they say it. I used to do that with my accounting clients though too. Like when I give somebody their taxes back, and when I'm working on the taxes before I get everything in, it says they owe 30,000. Okay, well, then we can change this. Now it's down to 20, and then we're going to do this. I'm going to give you a dividend instead of having it be pay, and then it's like, okay, it's 15,000. They're not going to like that, but when they come by for their taxes, I'm like, so when I was working on your taxes, it was saying you were going to owe 30,000. Well, by the time I get to the 15, they're feeling pretty good.
Uh-huh.
It is. Framing is super important.
Yeah.
Super, super important.
Yeah. Well, this has been super fun. It is almost 3:00, and thus our hour has flown by, which is usually what happens when we talk. So this has been great to have you on here, and I look forward to having you on the next show. I think this is the 4th time I've interviewed you.
Podapalooza, Power Lunch, the interview the other week, and today, yes, 4th.
Yep. So,
but I kind of interviewed you too. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah. I've had you on a show, so and we should definitely do it again because it's awesome. And here we're at 54 minutes in. We're showing more viewers than we've had for the whole hour, but I guess words getting around just as we finish up. But just after we stop, there's a replay button. So you can go back to the beginning, watch the whole thing, and catch it then. You just can't comment live like James did. Thanks, James, if you're still there, for being an active participant in the comments.
Yes, thank you. And thanks everybody for showing up. We love you.
Yep. And along the bottom there, you can see when it comes around again.
Be part of the show. Apply to participate at guywhoknowsaguy.com/powerlunch.
Yes. So if you think you should be on the show, fill that out. It'll ask you for dates you're available. And we're currently booking out into June, July. So, which is coming up rapidly.
Yeah,
July back in March, I was booking out to June.
And my wedding. So
nice.
Yeah, it's
pretty cool.
Fun month for me.
James is still here. Hi, James. Thanks for watching. So, thank you, Heather, for being on here. Hopefully, you will apply to one or more of our summits. Because
sure.
I think one or more of them would be good fit for you. And James too. You should also apply for one more of the summits, and possibly other people. So, I just run community in small rooms. This is kind of the vibe of the summit. The summit's longer and has more than 2 people on the screen at a time. So thanks for being on. This has been awesome. A great. Good. See, be like James. Apply to speak. And actually, let me put the link on there. There it is. guyknowsaguy.com/summits is the place where you can find all 3 of my currently pending summits and any future summits. We'll go there as well, because rather than constantly sending out new links, I can just have one link with everything on it.
And it's easy to figure out because /summits.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
Yep. Yeah, sometime I might get a shorter URL.
You should also make sure you buy Michael Whitehouse too.
I have michaelwhitehouse.org. Someone already got michaelwhitehouse.com.
Oh, okay.
It's some guy in England, a computer IT guy.
As long as it's nobody bad. I actually own heatherabbott.ca. I couldn't get the .com, but I have heathercabbott.com.ca. I have heatherhcabbott.com.ca. I have hcabbott spelled with only one T.com.ca, and they all point to one site. So.
Nice. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I must get on to my next networking thing and send a bunch of introductions, because that's what I spend half my life doing, is just emailing these introductions.
Start taking pictures and better notes. So.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Thanks for being on. This has been super fun.
Bye.